And that's why I said Indians are no longer that naive. So this is a report by this SCMP, South China Morning Post. Indians see China as the number one military threat, followed by the US. Survey finds. The poll found that 43% of Indian respondents perceived China as the greatest threat, with the US next ahead of arch rival Pakistan. They're still trying to hyphenate India and Pakistan and say that Pakistan is India's arch rival. Pakistan is no longer, you know, it's essentially a non-entity now. The real problem, like I've been saying, is China. But now Indians believe that China is the number one military threat and the US is the number two military threat ahead of Pakistan. Yeah. It also found that most Indians place a greater blame on NATO and Washington than on Putin for the war in Ukraine. What is happening? Indians are growing up. Indians are now no longer that naive. Isn't that very interesting? Yeah. What else? Let's take a look at a graphic. This is from the Times of India. 43% China is the 43% of respondents believe that China is the number one military threat, and 22% of them believe the US is the biggest military threat. And then you have Pakistan and Russia apparently, and then Iran and the whatever. So that's very interesting. And they see the US and China as military threats, not as geopolitical threats or economic threats, military threats. So, yeah, it looks like the Indian uh, perception of geopolitics is evolving. It is becoming more realistic. Until 2018, 2019, 2020, also, Indians only thought of Pakistan as a threat. If you watched Indian news channels, they were all about Pakistan, Pakistan, Pakistan. When Prime Minister Modi goes to the US, the Indian news anchor will say, "What about Pakistan? What about Pakistan?" It was all Pakistan centric. After the Doklam thing, after the 2020 Galwan thing, that's when the focus shifted to China. I'm glad. But now Indians even believe that the US is a major military threat. And, the US is the global military superpower, the global overall superpower. So, yeah, it is a threat to it is potentially a threat to any nation in the world. So I think the Indian perception of geopolitics is becoming more realistic, and I'm glad to see that. Yeah, I'm not saying or I'm not agreeing or disagreeing with what is being said here, but it's very interesting to see this very significant shift in the perception that Indians have of the US and China. China also and the US also. Very interesting. Pakistan is now only 13% of respondents believe that Pakistan is a major threat, which is very eye-opening. So Pakistan now people see is a proxy of the US and China. And the big two threats are China and the US. Interesting. So yeah, I am glad that you all. I hope you are also also part of that. So it's really good to see that.